Building a following on social media is one thing, but building an engaged community who will not only consume your content, but take action because of it, now that's influence. The best way to influence people is to show up as your authentic self online, and that's exactly what we're going to discuss in today's video. Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new here. My name is Austen and I am a fashion and beauty content creator based in New York City. I use this channel to help micro-influencers create great content, grow their digital brands, and generate sustainable income from content creation. So if any of that interests you, please do consider subscribing to my channel for new videos every Tuesday. Now, in my almost 10 years as a digital content creator, I've had to learn a lot of new skills. From writing SEO optimized blog posts to things like photography and creating videos, there's definitely been a lot. But one thing that's always just kind of come naturally to me, and one thing that I think is one of my biggest strengths, is my ability to show up confidently and as myself on camera and connect with my audience. I really wanted to sit down and film this video today to go a little bit deeper, share a bit more of my personal story about how I found this confidence, and give you some tips for how you can find it as well. So in this video, we're going to talk about personal brand storytelling. We're going to go through an exercise that'll help you find people who inspire you to be your best self. And again, think about how you can channel that into your own content. And we are also going to talk a little bit about the fear that might be holding you back from being your most authentic self online. So grab a notebook and your favorite beverage and let's get into today's video. So before we start talking about showing up authentically in the content itself, I want to take a step back and ask you if you think that you are on the platforms that play to your strengths the most. I think that one of the best decisions you can make as a creator is picking a platform to post consistently on and try to build an audience on that really does play to your strengths. That's one of the reasons I love YouTube so much, is because I could sit and talk here all day. So I might as well channel that into some helpful content for my audience. And I love the idea of filming a video, editing the video, uploading it. That whole process really excites me and lets me, again, show up as my most authentic self on camera, because it seems to help you all so much. So think about that in your own content creation, and you do not just have to be on the platform that you think you're supposed to be on. Do your friends all tell you what an amazing writer you are? Think about maybe starting a blog. Are you like the best storyteller? Maybe it's more a podcast format that will work best. Are you okay with making fun of yourself and dancing around? Of course, in that case, you should be on TikTok. And it's not to say that all these different mediums can't work for all different types of creators, but when you are trying to just get started and be comfortable showing up and putting yourself out there, which is clearly a very scary thing to do. But the point I want to make here is if you find a platform that does play to your strengths, it's going to make it that much easier to show up authentically to your audience because you're doing it on a platform that does let you shine. Okay, so next up, let's talk a little bit about your personal brand storytelling, or how you let people know who you are through the content that you create. The biggest thing that's going to differentiate you from other content creators is your personal story. So thinking about your own unique point of view on things, the experiences that you've gone through that other people haven't. Because, I mean, I'm a fashion and beauty creator. There are plenty of those out there, but I talk a lot about how my previous experience as both a magazine editor and the content director at a tech startup shape my perspective on both fashion and beauty. And it's also what's enabled me to venture into another niche, which is tips for content creators and helping micro-influencers monetize. Those are all essentially my content pillars, which I think are really helpful to always fall back on when you're wondering what to talk about or you're not sure what to create content-wise. So if you haven't yet established your content pillars, or that's a new term for you, I do cover that in my free guide, The Influencer Launchpad, which I will link to in the description box of this video. I do think it's really important to get those right, so I hope you'll check out that free resource. And again, your personal brand story doesn't necessarily have to be you sitting down and telling your whole life story every time you create a single piece of content. But let's talk a little bit about how you might be able to incorporate your personal brand story, both visually in the content that you create, and also a bit in the tone or storytelling voice that you use. So again, for me personally, take the example of my previous work as a magazine editor. that really does inform a lot of the visual style of the content that I create. So I might be more inclined to create more editorial looking images than other fashion content creators who might be creating more accessible images like mirror selfies or more candid iPhone photos versus a bit more of a stylized shoot that involves props and things like that. And both are great for different reasons, but that is something that I not only use to my advantage when I create organic content, but that I also sell to brands when they want to work with me because they're getting that whole perspective. I'm approaching it from an editorial standpoint, and that also is what sets me apart from other content creators who they might be considering hiring. The other way that you can really get your personal brand or story across is in your tone of voice. So maybe you want to be seen as a professional in your industry and you might use a bit more of a serious tone, or maybe your platform is all about connecting Gen Z women, and so you're going to talk to them in a bit more of a relatable way. You might use more slang, you might use more abbreviations and things like that. So definitely keep those two things in mind. How are you showing up visually, and how are you showing up in terms of your text and your copy? As a fun little breakup exercise, only if you're up to it or you have the time while you're watching this video, is leave a comment on this video with your 2-sentence-ish brand pitch. Like, let us know what you're all about if someone stops you and asks you what you do and you really only have 30 seconds to communicate that value to them. If you've never tried this before, I do think it's really helpful just in terms of putting the words together, and it can really help you frame how you create the rest of your content. Do me a favor and leave a comment down below. If you're up for it, I will also leave a comment down below with mine, so you can go check that out. I do think that, like with anything, studying the experts and people who do a great job of this is one of the best possible ways to figure out how you can show up authentically as yourself. I wanted to quickly shout out 2 of my friends who I just think do such a great job of this, and I actually met them because of each other. So people who are authentically real and awesome do attract to each other, whether it's in person or online. First, I want to talk about my friend Mandy. Mandy is also based here in New York City. She is a lifestyle creator, but she also talks about so many different aspects of her life. She is newly engaged. She is talking about mental health, and I just love following along with her. And what I love about both these creators that I'm talking about right now is that what you see is what you get. As in, I've met them both in real life, and it is exactly in tune with how they show up online. And so that is the ultimate test, right, of being authentic and showing up as your most you self. I'm sure there was a better way to say that, but hey guys, this is just me. This is what you get. I would definitely recommend following Mandy, and the other person who I wanted to shout out is my friend Caroline. Caroline is a fashion content creator. She's also an author, editor, stylist. She is amazing. And what I love about Caroline is she is a really great example of personal brand storytelling in a visual sense. I mean, she is not afraid to wear color, as you'll learn from following her, but she also is just so true to herself. Like, she talks a lot about even just how wearing her glasses sets her apart. And, you know, not a lot of fashion girls wear glasses, but whenever Caroline does it, I'm like, I should not wear my contacts today. Do you know what I mean? Like, she inspires me because of that and because of so many other things as well. So those are just examples of 2 content creators who at first I kind of knew of online from afar, but once I actually started hanging out with them and they became my friends, I realized that, again, what you see is what you get, and that should be the ultimate goal of any creator. So another thing that I would love for you guys to try, I feel like I'm giving out a lot of like homework today, but I really do think it will help you in getting to the point where you can show up as your most authentic self, is to go out and find like 5 people who you love following online, who you feel like do a great job of this, and who you would guess if you met them in person that they would be exactly like they are online, and just kind of study them for a week. You know, keep an eye out for what they're sharing on stories, how they write their Instagram captions, and think about how you might be able to channel something similar through your own content, and again, through your unique perspective. That's the most important part of this. Copying will get you nowhere, but there's no reason to not look to the people you admire for inspiration. And as I was planning this video, I did actually go to synonym.com to see what some of the other synonyms for authentic were, and some of the ones that came up that I thought were really great were truthful, genuine, and unique. And what I think has been really interesting about social media, especially in the last 2 years, is people are opening up about not just all of the sunny days that they're having. You know, they're opening up about things that they're going through, struggling with, you know, things that maybe aren't so great as well. And so I think that's showing, you know, not necessarily oversharing or pushing beyond what you're comfortable doing, but giving glimpses of both the good and bad is really important, especially to appear authentic online. So again, I'm happy to use myself as an example here to say, you know, when I was posting a ton of beauty product reviews here on YouTube, they weren't always all good product reviews. And I could love a brand and be obsessed with pretty much everything I do, but chances are there's still always going to be at least 1 or 2 products that either don't work for me or that I straight up just don't like. And so I've not held back from sharing some of those not so positive reviews here on YouTube. But I think the big thing to keep in mind here is I'm always still trying to do it in a respectful way. And so again, that does tie into me thinking about, well, if I was a magazine editor and I were kind of thinking just practically about what are the pros and cons of this product, you know, if this doesn't work for my skin type, whose skin type might it work for? What might I recommend if someone has straight hair versus curly hair? And even though I personally, you know, can only speak for having straight hair, I need to think about the girl who has curly hair or the guy who has curly hair. And I think that that is, again, informs just the way I even go about creating my content in the first place. I would just like to add that just because you post a neutral or even negative review about a product does not mean that you can't work with that brand in the future. If you don't believe me, I have posted negative reviews of products from Glossier and Laneige, 2 brands that I am arguably obsessed with, just because the products did not work for me. And I've done paid collaborations with both of those brands, both after I posted negative reviews. So I just wanted to bring that up because I do think that being authentic is kind of showing a bit of a 360-degree picture of things. And just because, you know, you don't necessarily love one product from a brand, that doesn't mean that you have to write off the whole brand and vice versa. So another thing to think about as you are planning to show up authentically on social media. And to wrap up this video, I did want to address just the fear of showing up as yourself online, because even though I'm 10 years into this, I still do feel that way from time to time. And I think that the best thing that's helped me kind of get over that fear is, well, obviously, number one, when you do actually reach someone, even if it's that one person who leaves a comment on your video, it just is the best feeling. And I'm so lucky to have a very primarily supportive community. I've certainly seen some mean or hateful comments from time to time, but overall, I have to say, after almost a decade putting my life online, I'm very lucky in that sense. And I think that, again, kind of what you put out is what you attract. For me, I would play out the worst case scenario in your head. I actually do this with all kinds of different decision making, but for this purpose specifically, are you worried about getting canceled? Are you worried about mean comments? And they may happen still, but what happens if you get a mean comment? You delete and block the person and you feel bad for half an hour. Are you worried that maybe no one will see it? I mean, I am someone who had a blog for almost 8 years with not a ton of traffic or visibility, and I only recently learned about SEO and have only recently exponentially grown my blog traffic over time. So it doesn't have to be perfect or life-altering in the beginning. Again, if you're reaching one person who finds value in what you do, then that is amazing. And again, if you are worried about, getting canceled or things like that too, again, kind of work backwards. Think about what checks or systems can I put in place to make sure that I'm always putting out content that reflects my best self. Is there maybe a word that I'm not so sure about that I said? Like, maybe just cut that part out and don't even put it out there. And again, everyone's going to make mistakes. There are going to be people out there who don't like what you do. But over time, you will attract the right people. It's how I found any one of you who's watching this video right now, by thinking about who I'm trying to reach, creating content that I think is super relevant and super helpful for that person, and just showing up as me. And that's all you can do at the end of the day. All right, everyone. So I'm looking forward to reading over some of your personal brand statements in the comments down below. Again, if you are newer to this world of content creation and maybe you haven't even posted anything yet because you're still a little stressed about putting yourself out there and making sure your content is good, that guide I created for you all, the Influencer Launchpad, is a really helpful resource if you're just getting started. or even if you need a refresh of one of your platforms, so I do hope you'll check it out. As always, I would love to invite all of you who aren't already to subscribe to my channel. You can just hit the red button down below, it doesn't cost a thing and really helps me out and supports my channel. You can also turn on the notification bell so that you never miss a video from me, and do give me a thumbs up down below if this video helped you. I will be back again next week with another new video. Until then, thanks for watching and have an amazing rest of your day. Bye!